Hello, and welcome to Listen Business English, the podcast where you improve your professional English by exploring the biggest business stories shaping our world today. I'm Gary. I'm a British English teacher, originally from England. I've lived in Colombia since 2010, and for the last 16 years, I've helped companies, executives, entrepreneurs, and professionals across Colombia, South America, and around the world develop the English they need to succeed in international business. The last 16 years. If you're new to the podcast, the goal is simple. We don't learn business English through artificial examples or textbook dialogues. Instead, we learn through real-world business events, economic developments, corporate strategy, and global trends. Throughout the episode, I'll explain important business vocabulary, financial terminology, management concepts, and professional expressions exactly as they appear in context. So whether you work in finance or sales, logistics, procurement, manufacturing, management, or international trade, this podcast is designed for you. So let me ask you a question. What is the biggest business risk facing the global economy today? Many people would say inflation. Others might say artificial intelligence. Some would point to government debt. But what if the biggest business risk is actually geopolitical? This week, Chinese President Xi Jinping declared that China's relationship with Russia has reached what he called the highest level in history. At the same time, tensions continue in Ukraine, uncertainty remains in the Middle East, and concerns over Taiwan continue to grow. Why should business professionals care? Because these events could affect global supply chains, energy prices, manufacturing costs, investment decisions, international trade, and economic growth for years to come. Today we'll look at what business leaders, investors, and multinational companies are watching closely, and the business English you need to discuss these issues confidently. Let's get started. When Xi Jinping described China's relationship with Russia as being at the highest level in history, investors and business leaders paid close attention. Now, the phrase, pay close attention, means to monitor something carefully because it may have important consequences. Investors are paying close attention to developments in the Chinese economy, for instance. From a business perspective, the relationship between China and Russia is important because both countries play major roles in global markets. China is the world's manufacturing powerhouse. Russia is one of the world's largest exporters of oil, natural gas, and raw materials. When we say a raw material, this is just a basic substance used to produce finished goods. Examples of raw materials include oil, natural gas, metals, timber, and agricultural products. Many analysts describe the China-Russia relationship as what we call a strategic partnership, rather than a true alliance, rather than a true partnership. A strategic partnership is a cooperative relationship designed to achieve long-term objectives. Businesses create strategic partnerships all the time. A technology company may form a strategic partnership with a software provider. One interesting aspect of the relationship is that Russia increasingly depends on China economically. Which brings us to an important business term, dependency. Dependency means reliance on another company, or another supplier, or customer, or a market. You'll hear people say the company reduced its dependency on a single supplier. Reducing dependency is often a key objective in risk management. One of the most important concepts in business is what we call long-term thinking. Many experts argue that China is playing what investors call the long game. The expression means focusing on long-term success rather than short-term gains. A short-term gain is an immediate benefit. A long-term objective is a goal that may take years or decades to achieve. Successful companies constantly balance these two priorities. For example, a company may sacrifice short-term profits in order to invest in future growth. And this is exactly how many analysts believe China approaches economic development. Rather than focusing solely on immediate results, China often invests heavily in infrastructure, manufacturing capacity, technology, and industrial development. And this introduces another useful business term, competitive advantage. A competitive advantage is something that allows a company or a country to outperform competitors. Examples could be lower costs, better technology, stronger branding, or superior logistics. China has spent decades building competitive advantages in manufacturing and supply chain management. One of the biggest business lessons from recent geopolitical events involves supply chains. A supply chain is the network of companies, suppliers, transportation providers, warehouses, and distributors involved in delivering a product to customers. Many executives learned during the pandemic that global supply chains can be vulnerable. The word vulnerable means exposed to risk. You might hear people say our supply chain is vulnerable to shipping disruptions. The Ukraine conflict highlighted risks related to energy, agriculture, and transportation. And meanwhile, tensions involving Taiwan raise concerns about semiconductors. A semiconductor is a critical component used in computers, smartphones, vehicles, and countless other products. Many businesses are now reviewing their supply chains to reduce risk. This process is often called supply chain diversification. Diversification means spreading the risk across multiple suppliers or markets or investments. You might hear a company say, we diversified our supplier base to improve resilience. Resilience is just the ability to recover quickly from problems or disruptions. Now, when business leaders discuss Taiwan, they're often thinking about one thing: risk. In business, risk is the possibility that an event could negatively affect objectives, or profits, or operations, or investments. Taiwan occupies a critical position in the global technology industry. Many of the world's most advanced semiconductor chips are produced there in Taiwan. And this creates what economists call a concentration risk. Concentration risk occurs when too much dependence exists in a single location, or a single customer, or supplier, or market. This is concentration risk. You might hear the company identified concentration risk within its Asian operations. Many multinational corporations are now evaluating how geopolitical tensions could affect production, logistics, and procurement. Procurement just refers to the process of purchasing or buying goods and services. This is a term frequently used in large organizations. So let's look at several important business terms. When we talk about risk assessment, we're talking about the process of identifying and evaluating risks. For example, the company completed a risk assessment before entering the market. You might hear mitigation. These are actions taken to reduce risk. As an example, management implemented mitigation strategies. Now, a contingency plan is a backup plan for unexpected events. We could say the company developed a contingency plan for supply disruptions. Exposure is the level of vulnerability to a particular risk. As an example, the company has significant exposure to Asian markets. These are extremely common terms in board meetings, strategy discussions, and investor presentations. And one of the most interesting concepts in modern business is what we call interdependence. Interdependence means that two or more parties depend on each other. China depends on international customers. Many international customers depend on Chinese manufacturing. And this creates a two-way relationship. A useful business phrase here is what we call mutual benefit. Mutual benefit just means both sides gain value from a relationship. Mutual benefit. For example, you might hear the agreement created mutual benefits for both companies. Now, because of economic interdependence, business leaders often prefer stability over confrontation. Markets generally dislike uncertainty. Investors prefer environments where future outcomes are easier to predict. And this introduces another key concept: market confidence. Market confidence refers to investor trust in future economic conditions. Strong confidence often supports investment and growth, and weak market confidence, can reduce spending and investment activity in general. Businesses dislike surprises. One reason is that uncertainty creates costs. Companies may delay investments, hiring decisions may be postponed, expansion plans can be put on hold. That's a phrasal verb. Put on hold means to temporarily stop or delay something. For example, the company put its expansion plans on hold. Now, geopolitical uncertainty can also affect energy prices, commodity prices, transportation costs, insurance costs, currency markets, and consumer confidence. All of these factors directly affect business performance. And as a result, many executives now spend far more time discussing geopolitical developments than they did, say, a decade ago. Another major business lesson comes from alliances. Just as countries benefit from partnerships, businesses do too. A strategic alliance is a formal arrangement between organizations that cooperate to achieve shared goals. Examples of these include joint ventures, distribution partnerships, technology partnerships, and research collaborations. Many analysts argue that future economic competition may increasingly occur between groups of countries rather than individual countries. For multinational corporations, understanding these relationships is becoming an essential business skill. Global strategy is no longer just about customers and products and profits and losses. It's also about politics, trade agreements, regulations, tariffs, and international relationships. A tariff is just a tax imposed on imported goods. Tariffs can significantly affect costs and pricing and profitability. So what should business professionals take away from this discussion? Well, first, geopolitics and business are becoming increasingly interconnected. Second, supply chain resilience is now a major strategic priority. And third, risk management has become more important than ever. And finally, long-term strategic thinking remains one of the most valuable skills in both business and international relations. The companies that succeed over the next decade may not necessarily be the fastest growing companies. They may be the companies that best understand risk, adapt to changing conditions, diversify their operations, and prepare for multiple possible futures. And from an English learning perspective, today's episode introduced many of the terms used every day in boardrooms, strategy meetings, investor presentations, and international business discussions. So thank you for listening to Listen Business English. If you enjoyed today's episode, you'll also find links to our sister podcasts, Listen Global English and Listen Online English, in the description below. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening, and keep developing your business English. Bye-bye for now.